Imagine walking into a room where 5 of the absolute best engineers on the planet are huddled around a computer. They're visibly stressed, completely stuck on this incredibly complex Oracle software problem. Then this guy walks in. Now he's a master of Windows software, sure, but he has practically zero knowledge of Oracle. He takes one look at their proposed solutions, points out the answer, and just solves it. The elite engineers review it and, one by one, have to admit, shoot, he's right. Now jump forward a few years. The famous investor Peter Thiel is looking at a struggling brand new rocket company that has already had 3 consecutive launch failures. Thiel says, look, I'll invest, but only if I can speak to the chief engineer first. The founder just looks at him and goes, you're talking to him. Thiel literally thought it was a joke. After all, he and this founder were just building internet software together a few years prior. That founder, of course, was Elon Musk. But seriously, how does a software developer become a chief aerospace engineer practically overnight? Listen, this explainer is not about someone just being born a genius with some magical brain. Not at all. Today, we're going to break down the specific, highly replicable 5-step system that Elon Musk uses to learn 10 times faster than the average person. Okay, let's dive into this explainer and uncover this incredible framework.
Think of this as your ultimate hero's playbook for accelerated learning. We're going to systematically cover 5 key principles today. Fail fast and fix faster, download brains, operate with extreme urgency, simplify and delete, and question all requirements.
All right, let's kick things off with principle 1. Fail fast, fix faster. Most people, and frankly most organizations, operate on a completely different wavelength. Take their traditional military approach, for example. Their engineers will spend months meticulously testing materials in extreme temperatures just to avoid failure at all costs. But Musk, he flat out rejected that cautious approach. His whole philosophy is to rush toward mistakes. You want to make them quickly, on a small scale, and then fix them immediately. Build an engine, put it on a test stand, and if it works, throw it in the main rocket and test that. Let me tell you a crazy story from the early days of SpaceX to really prove this point. One night, lightning actually struck one of their test stands. The massive impact caused the rocket's vital fuel tank to just crumple and dent inwards. Now, traditional aerospace engineers would have halted everything, right? In fact, Musk's team told him they'd need to completely replace the tank. That's a process that would delay the whole launch by months. So, what's Musk's response? He looks at his highly trained engineers and gives the most insanely simple order. Get a hammer, climb up there, and fix the dent. He told them to literally bang out the dent with a hammer and weld any cracks that appeared. The engineers thought he was losing his mind. But they followed their boss's orders. They grabbed their tools, climbed up, hammered out the tank, and welded the cracks. They refilled it with fuel and it worked flawlessly. Because they didn't avoid this failure and wait around for a perfect replacement, they successfully tested their first rocket 4 months early. Which brings us nicely to principle 2, download brains. Back when Musk initially decided to get humans to Mars, he figured he'd just buy the rockets. So he flies to Russia to meet with an aerospace group. He passionately explains this grand vision of making humanity multiplanetary. One of the Russians actually scoffs, says they don't build rockets for internet millionaires, and literally spat on Musk. Meeting over. Later, he meets another Russian team and asks for a price. They demanded a staggering $18 million for a single rocket. They were laughing at him, telling him he simply didn't have the money.
Obviously, Musk was furious. So on the airplane ride back to America, his employees Jim Cantrell and Mike Griffin are chatting in the back, and they notice Musk up front, just furiously typing on his laptop for hours. Suddenly, Musk turns around and shows them his screen. He says, guys, I think we can build our own rockets. Cantrell looks at the screen and is just blown away. Musk hadn't just been dreaming, he had been systematically downloading knowledge.
So how do you actually execute this in your own life? Well, Musk actively hired the absolute top experts. Guys like Jim Cantrell and Tom Mueller, and relentlessly extracted their knowledge, consulting them on every single major decision. But here is the massive takeaway for us. If you can't afford to hire the world's best rocket scientists, you can still use books as your mental mentors. Musk is famously obsessed with devouring books. The sources for this explainer note he learns extensively from biographies of people like Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison. You can literally download the brains of history's greatest minds just by reading their life story.
Okay, principle 3, extreme sense of urgency. There's this huge trap we've all fallen into called analysis paralysis, right? It's where overthinking just totally stops us from taking action. But the thing is, action-oriented people learn incredibly fast simply because they physically do more.
Here's a wild example of what this actually looks like. During the early days, Musk heard about a bankrupt rocket company called Aerospace that had an abandoned test site down in Texas, about 26 kilometers away. His engineers excitedly suggested they schedule a visit for a few days later. Musk says no. They boarded a plane that exact same day, flew down to the site, found the single employee left guarding the place, and secured it. It had water tanks, test stands, the whole shebang, and Musk just rented it on the absolute spot for 45 grand for a whole year. The lesson here is absolutely vital. Stop overanalyzing. If Musk had waited a few days to, analyze the market or schedule formal meetings, he might have lost that perfect test site, or at the very least, lost his momentum. If there is something you need to do to advance your learning or your project today, you don't schedule it for next week. You do it right now.
Moving into principle 4. This is where we start streamlining. Simplify and delete, also known as the 80-20 rule.
Picture this. It's 2017, inside the Tesla battery factory, and production is severely stalling. The bottleneck was being caused by these tiny plastic caps placed over the battery pins.
Musk goes up to his engineers and asks the ultimate question: why is this here? The engineers replied that the caps were there to prevent the pins from getting bent or damaged during the supply chain process. Well, Musk challenged that assumption. He realized these caps weren't actually necessary at all, so he ordered them to delete the step completely. The engineers removed the caps, and surprisingly, there was zero damage to the pins. By simply deleting one useless step, Tesla's production sped up instantly.
This connects directly to the famous 80-20 rule. Highly successful people don't do thousands of things. They say no to almost everything and focus entirely on the vital few. Just like you probably only use 20% of the apps on your phone for 80% of your screen time, we spend 80% of our daily efforts on useless plastic caps, unnecessary tasks that add practically zero value. To learn faster, you absolutely must identify these useless steps in your own life and aggressively delete them.
And finally, Principle 5, question every requirement. This is pretty much Musk's golden rule for learning and innovation. Every requirement you are handed is wrong by default until it is objectively proven right. One of the most incredible stories of this explainer happened early on at SpaceX. They needed a specific valve for their rocket. A traditional aerospace supplier quoted them a massive $1.5 million. Musk looked at the valve, actually laughed out loud, and said it looked like a simple garage door opener. He told his team to ignore the supplier's quote entirely and just build it themselves for $5,000. Now, the team thought he was losing his mind, but they went out, took parts typically used in a commercial car wash, modified them, and built a perfectly functioning rocket valve for exactly $5,000. And get this, it's still used in SpaceX rockets today.
And it didn't stop there. Another supplier sold SpaceX aluminum domes for their fuel tanks, but then suddenly tripled the price halfway through the contract. Musk's engineers compared it to a painter painting half your house for a quoted price and then demanding 3 times more to finish the rest. Well, Musk was infuriated. He declared they would just build the domes themselves. By questioning these requirements and costs, SpaceX totally transformed its strategy. Today, they manufacture a staggering 70% of the rocket components entirely in-house.
All right, let's quickly review these 5 transformative steps, which, by the way, are drawn directly from the incredible insights in Walter Isaacson's comprehensive biography of Elon Musk. Number 1, don't fear failure, fail fast on a small scale and fix it even faster. 2, download the brains of experts through direct mentorship or reading biographies. 3, act with extreme urgency to beat analysis paralysis. 4, ruthlessly delete the useless 80% of tasks slowing you down. And 5, question every single requirement because it's wrong by default.
So, I want to leave you with a final provocative question. Which of these 5 principles will you start using today to 10x your own learning? Are you going to finally pick up a biography, or are you going to aggressively delete a useless step in your daily routine? Hammer the like button if you found this breakdown valuable, subscribe for more deep dive explainers, and most importantly, take one of these steps and apply it to your life right now. See you next time.